everyone. I'm Rodney Tomlin, and welcome to another Money Ohio weekend and round number 12 of America's premier off-road racing series, the Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship, and of course, the Powerline Park GNCC. We got racing coming up here in just a few moments, but first, let's check in with Jason Wygant.
Thanks, Rodney. We're down here at the start. Championship could be crowned today with Juha Salminen trying to turn the 111 plate into the national #1 as GNCC champ. But the mud is going to be the biggest obstacle today. Throw the championship out the door. They've got to worry about 3 hours of racing, some very, very tough conditions.
Speaking of tough conditions, Jai Willis from Australia, an ISDE rider fresh off those ranks, here with us in America with Glenn Kearney. Check out GNCC Racing just like Juha Salminen did only a year or so ago before he came over to dominate and add a GNCC championship to his belt, along with those 10-plus world championship titles he has. Barry Hawk has tried so hard to keep that from happening, but unfortunately for him, he's not been able to slow the momentum that the 111 of Salminen began the season with, but he has definitely been there knocking on the door. And speaking of knocking on the door from the 258 class, now into the pro class, Charlie Mullins in his first time out actually posted a podium position finish his first time starting on the pro row. Chucky Woodford, we're in his hometown, and happy birthday, the big 3-0 for the Woodchuck. As we take a look at our points board right now, Salminen with a pretty healthy lead. But the real battle in the top 5 between Charlie Mullins and Robbie Jinks is only 1 point separate those two for 4th place overall in this 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship Series. And this is round number 12 as we get set to roll. There goes row number 1 here at this Powerline Park GNCC. And the Woodchuck, Chucky Woodford, taking Barry Hawk all the way outside. And that looks like the number. Wow, Woodford is going to end up with that hole shot after carrying the Yamaha way out and then getting on the gas. Number 11, Team Green Kawasaki rider out front in his hometown. What a way to start the race. Let's take a look at the way he got her done in that FMF Hole Shot Award as the kick starts down into turn number 1. It is Hawk and it is Woodford side by side. It looks like the Woodford may have carried the momentum way out too far, but was still able to capitalize on the major speed that he carried into turn number 1 as he captures the first place position. Head down the row number 2, the 258 class. A couple of riders to watch out for here. Jesse Robinson, D.R. Atwood, Scott Watkins, but who's going to grab the early lead? How about the 29 of Aaron Wegner out of Traverse City, Michigan, grabbing yet another pole shot in this 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship Series. And they continue to jockey it out back there from second on back to see who's going to chase down that machine Wegner is racing on in that 258 class. Vet A class off and rolling now. It is row number 3. And who's going to get credit for the early lead here? It's going to be a Yamaha pilot. I believe that's the 964 of Scott Phelps from Petersburg, New York, grabbing the early lead in this Vet A division. They continue to jockey back behind him. Looks like the Suzuki of Jason Stewart in that number 2 spot. And also the 449 knocking on the door back there. That's Henry Caterin out of Massillon, Ohio, getting off to a good start here in the Powerline Park GNCC. Row number 4, the 200A off and rolling. And once again, the number 39 of Todd Moraine out of Amherst, Ohio, has grabbed the early lead in this 200A class and is going to be tough to beat once again. But check out right behind him, 989 of Thaddeus Duval, who actually this year raced for the first time ever in the big bike class as he was a youth rider last year. He won the 200B class and has moved up to the 200A class and is a challenger. It looks like you can see out of the gate right off the bat. Open A class on row number 5, the 77 of Joseph Geyer getting off to a good start there. He's out of Allison Park, Pennsylvania, aboard the Yamaha. He's got company. That looks like maybe the number 60 of Aaron Branham out of Pataskala on the KTM, back in the number 2 spot. As we check into our next row, it's our 4-stroke A class, 0 to 300cc and 301cc plus. 4-stroke A's on row number 6, and our riders making their way through that first turn. We've got a Suzuki out front, and that could be a number of folks, maybe even Keith Jazarski, the number 955 from South Park, Pennsylvania, trying to get her done there as we jockey through for our 4-stroke A riders. There goes the 693. That's Jimmy Woodford out of Southington here in Ohio, not too far from St. Clairsville, where we are right now. Could be a force to be reckoned with in that 4-stroke A division as the gate, or actually the green flag goes up in our row number 7 Senior A division. Keith Rogers, the number 356, normally one to keep an eye out for here, but it looks like Kirchner, the number 387, has gotten off to a great start out of Terre Haute, Indiana. He's got company back there, though, out of the number 50 of Randy Hillegas, and also the 57 of Kane Blackwood. Actually, all these Senior A riders are vying for a win here today in Ohio. Row number 8, the 4-stroke B classes, again 0 to 300 cc and 301 cc plus. They're combined on one row as they make their way through that first turn. And are we going to get a 0 to 300 cc early leader, the Yamaha rider? That could very well be exactly who that is. 104 Shane Munger out of Northeast Pennsylvania, but he's also got company out of that number 254 machine, Aaron Black, from the 0 to 300 cc division from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, as these guys get it all sorted out off the 4-stroke B row. And we'll head down to our next row, which is row number 9, the 250B class. 17 entries in the 250B class. See who's going to grab the early lead here. Looked like the number 401 of Brent Thornhill was on his way to it, but not going to be able to do it. Number 275, make that 375. Brian Becker going to grab the lead, though, after they jockey through the first few turns there. Becker out of Marietta, Ohio, has got company out of all these 250B riders, including the 376 of Tim Cochran, the 401 of Brent Thornhill, and also the 513 of Lewis Lamb. 200B division on row number 10. Off and rolling, 14 riders into turn number 1. A lot of KTM pilots up front to open the Powerline Park GNCC up for the 200B division, but let's see who's going to be getting credit for the early lead. How about number 374, Derek Tucker? He's out of Roeburbs, Kentucky. A KTM pilot in that 200B division has secured the number 1 spot heading into the woods. Tough start there for the 233 of Richard Carnes, it looked like. And also the 374 who had grabbed the early lead. Derek Tucker is the man down on the start. He was on his way to what looked like a great start, and then just kind of threw it away in that slick Ohio mud. It's starting to tack up a little bit, but still a little greasy out there in some places after Friday's rains. And, of course, Saturday morning's rains, as the ATV riders really had their work cut out for them. Row number 11 off and rolling now. It is the Open B division. And in the Open B class, we have 12 entries jockeying for position. And again, KTM pilots up front. Looks like possibly the 654 Frank Gallo, maybe even Shane Garner, the 775, or Nathan Laley, the number 893, getting off to the early lead there in that road. And row number 12 now, Senior B division. Kickstarts are down for our 12 entries in this class. Brad Waddell is going to be one to keep an eye out for here, the number 81 Suzuki from Freeport, PA. Though it doesn't look like he's getting off to the grandest of starts, he is back there in that number 3 position. Meanwhile, he is going to have to try to chase down that X machine, that Yamaha ridden by the number 120 of Stephen Getz out of Erlanger, Kentucky, getting off to the quick lead in the Senior B division as we head down to our final row. Row number 13, it's going to be the Vet B, 30-plus years of age and older, and intermediate level riders. We got a total of 18 riders heading into turn number 1. It looks like one of our Suzuki pilots is going to grab this early lead. Who's it going to be? We'll sort them out as they make their way into this second turn. It looks like the 121 or maybe the 127 of Doug Moore from Barbersville, West Virginia, getting that early lead. We'll give him credit here on the DVD, and tough break there for that rider. That is Yamaha pilot number 622, Jeff Johnson from Westfield Center, Ohio, a 38-year-old rider on that Yamaha, and he's got his work cut out for him. He starts the race dead last as we head out to the front of the pack. The number 11 of Chuck Woodford still out front at the 1.5-mile marker as he is leading the pack on his home turf. You know, Chucky just won the National Hare Scrambles title, so he is riding on a huge wave of confidence right now, and he is going to try to secure a win here. There's Lafferty making his way by. Got some work cut out for him.
You know what? I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think the 4 rows yesterday, when it rained, it didn't go all the way through. You know, it was pretty dry, so those guys just slipped around on the top and just made it real slick. So I don't think it's going to be a big rut race. I think it's going to be slick. So I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be surprising. The weather's going to be real cool, so it's not going to get hot. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be nice.
It is definitely going to be nice, as Steve Hatch, things aren't happening too nicely for him as he's back of the pack right now. Meanwhile, 258 leader, number 29, Aaron Wagner, is working his way past the 1.5-mile marker. Number 19 of D.R. Atwood in second. Back in third, Jesse Robinson aboard the number 17 machine, as those two top 3 riders have been playing chase with Charlie Mullins all season long. And right now, speaking of playing chase, Charlie Mullins moved up to the pro class and up to the number 1 spot here at the 3.5-mile marker now. Kearney in second. Back in third is Woodford in fourth place. Number 10 is Robbie Jinks. Jeff Russell had some words to say about what today's track was like.
No, yesterday it rained and rained all day long, and it was just it get good and then it get real bad again. But actually, as long as it stays overcast and doesn't rain, it should be really tack up good for these guys, and it should get really fast this afternoon.
Tacking up and speeding up for sure, as the number 111 of Juha Salminen has made his way to the number 1 spot with the number 11 of Chucky Woodford running back in second. There's the 114 of Glenn Kearney holding on to the number 3 spot out here at the 4-mile marker. It is Charlie Mullins back in 4th place now as he's dropped off a couple. In 5th spot, it's Mike Lafferty aboard the number 26 place, the number 3 of Barry Hawk. And here comes what looks like the number 7 of Fast Freddy in the number 7 spot. He's out of Salem, Ohio, not too far from where we are right now. And Robbie Jinks has dropped all the way back to a 8th place position. 9th place there went the number 21 of Justin Williamson. And Rodney Smith, the number 1 machine, rounding out the top 10 here on lap number 1 at the 4-mile marker. There's Jai Willis aboard the number 113 as he checks in the number 11 spot as we head out to the 5-mile marker now. And Chucky Woodford still playing chase to the number 111 of Juha Salminen. It looks like the number 10 of Robbie Jinks trying to work his way up through the pack. And all of our riders continue to jockey for position here on this first lap of racing. Still nobody's game just yet as no one has secured a solid lead. Jai Willis trying to keep up with the top 10 out there as it looks like he is keeping up with Rodney Smith, the number 1 FMF Suzuki rider who is fresh back from injury. I believe this is his 3rd race back, and Rodney Smith is doing quite well considering it's been a year since he has been on the GNCC trails and been a competitor in GNCC racing. Out near the 7-mile marker, Gus's mud hole, our Yamaha spectator section. Chucky Woodford about ready to stop and talk with some spectators, it looks like. As he makes his way in, he dips in first, and he is going to dip out of it second as our 2nd place rider, I believe that was the number 10 of Robbie Jinks, stalls it out. Here comes the number 111 of Juha Salminen as we get one more look at that and just how slow a rider has to go and hope that he doesn't stall it out. Looks like that rider actually just drove right down into it, got the air box under the water, sucked the water up, and kind of drowned it out, so to speak, just for a couple of moments, and he gets back up and rolling. And Gus's mud hole has taken his first victim here in our afternoon racing adventure. The Yamaha spectator section, once again, a very popular place on the racetrack for these folks to come down and watch. And though it may be just water right now, these riders, I'm sure, are going to be electing to head over to the sides of this particular section of the course to try to get into not so shallow or not so deep water, a little bit more shallow water. And whenever that happens, they're going to get into that water and they're going to find a little bit more mud, probably going to be getting stuck, maybe even finding a hidden tree that might have fallen into Gus's mud hole, which might take them out and actually put them down in the water. We'll just watch as this race develops and our pro riders making their way through this section. Again, easy and steady as she goes. That rider actually going through a little quicker than what I kind of expected a lot of these pro riders to do. But some of them have a different strategy heading through these types of obstacles on the racetrack. That looks like the 17 of Jesse Robinson making his way through as he puts both feet down and hopes for the best as he points that nose forward and makes his way here through Gus's mud hole at the 7-mile marker at the Powerline Park GNCC. Here comes your leader of the 258 class, Aaron Wagner, still aboard the number 29. He's actually gotten around the number 4 of Steve Hatch. Hatch appears to be struggling here in Ohio. And that would make sense since he did take a shot to the eye at the last race at Unadilla, took a rock to the eye, and he may still be suffering from some vision problems. As we are not suffering from vision problems out near the 8-mile marker, Chuck Woodford has taken over the lead as Juha Salminen has dropped off to 3rd place. The number 114 of Glenn Kearney holding on to the number 2 spot as we near the completion of this first lap of racing. Meanwhile, looks like the number 20 of Michael Lafferty must have been the rider that suffered problems as he's dropped off to 7th place now. And he was the rider that stalled out in Gus's mud hole, was challenging the number 11 of Chuck Woodford for the number 1 spot. Also, Jai Willis, the 113, appears to be riding quite strong just outside the top 10 as he's knocking on the door right behind the number 1 of Rodney Smith. There's the number 12 of Brian Garahan, who's also vying for an overall top 10 position in this 2005 season, tied for an 8th place position heading in to round number 12 of 13. He's got to score good here today and also at the Ironman GNCC in just a few weeks in order to secure that overall top 10 number, and that's exactly what he is trying to get accomplished here right now. Checking a little further back in the pack, there's the number 14, P.A. Allen. And also the number 29 of Aaron Wegner, your leader of the 250A class, who is making his way up into the tail end of our pro pack right now. There's Steve Hatch, as you can see, continues to struggle out there as the number 19 of D.R. Atwood holds on to second in the 250A class. And I believe that Jesse Robinson actually might have been just ahead of him, so D.R. has dropped off to a third-place position as Robinson now runs in the number 2 spot out near the 8-mile marker. Again, as we near the completion of lap number 1. We'll check in with some more of these other classes to see how they maneuver their way through some of these slippery, slimy sections of the race course. And it doesn't appear that any riders are actually having any problems. Just get up on that back wheel and wheelie through those sections. And once they get through, then we see the dirt actually start to tack back up in the other sections of the race course. So it's not like they're faced with those types of things all the time. Edging our way toward the finish line, seesaw battle back and forth between the number 11 of Woodford and the 111 of Juha Salmon, and there's the 114 of Glenn Kearney as he posts a third-place position after one lap of racing. Let's take a look at our Suzuki leaderboard. It is Chuck Woodford out front, Juha Salmon in second, Glenn Kearney third, Charlie Mullins in fourth, and Mike Lafferty back up to fifth place aboard that number 20 machine. Heading into the pits for the first time, looks like that the number 111 of Juha Salmon and nearly going down there has regained the lead away from the number 11 of Chuck Woodford. Woodford signaling someone. I don't know if he was waving or what was going on there, but anyway, he's still in that number 2 spot, and he's trying to chase down Juha Salmon on his own home turf. Still no change through our top 5 as the number 20 of Michael Lafferty holds steady back there. You got to wonder what's going on with Barry Hogg back there. He's struggling back in that number 6 spot, bouncing back and forth from 5th to 6th throughout that entire first lap of racing. There's the number 7 of Fast Fred Andrews, who looks like he's going to be a contender here today. Out near the 3-mile marker now, it's still Juha and Chucky, 1 and 2. Back and third, looks like a wheel-to-wheel battle as the 114 of Kearney now feeling the pressure from the number 15, the rookie of Charlie Mullins, now into the 4th place and working on 3rd place as still 5th place, the number 20 of Lafferty, and there comes 6th place, number 3, Barry Hawk, who appears to be struggling here today as he tries to keep pace with the rest of the crew. Robbie Jinks back in 7th aboard the number 10. 8th place now, the number 7 of Freddie Andrews. In the 9th place position, looks like yet another KTM pilot, and I believe that may be Shane Watts aboard the 124. We'll check in with that in just a bit to find out for sure. But the number 16 of Nate Canny now also looks like maybe in the front part of the pack. There's the 113 of Jai Willis, and he's just outside the top 10 right now as Nate Canny, I believe, was running in like 9th place. Rodney Smith in 10th place as we're out near the 4-mile marker now here on this second lap of racing. Still no change up front. It's still Juha Salmon and Chuck Woodford 1 and 2. And now it's 3rd place rider number 15, Charlie Mullins, as he has moved up 1 spot. He has gotten around the 114 of Glenn Kearney, who holds on to a comfortable 4th place position right now, and who appears to be comfortable in 5th place. Wasn't a few moments ago, but the number 20 of Lafferty has found his comfort zone. Back in the 6th place position is the number 7 of Fast Fred Andrews, and 7th place, the number 3 of Barry Hawk. And man, things are getting jumbled around as we get things sorted out. Let's take a look at our KTM product spotlight.
I'm here with Jack Benton in this week's KTM product spotlight. Jack, what are we taking a look at this week?
This week we're going to look at KTM's line of youth mini cycles. Here at the GNCCs, they have a youth class which runs on Saturday, and we have a real great product line that supports that. We have, starting with our 50cc automatic clutch model, which we have youth riding those from the age of 4 years old up until about 8 years old. And then we have a model, the 65, which has a 5-speed transmission with a clutch and a little bit bigger chassis. The youth ride those from the age of 7 to 11. Our bigger chassis, our bigger motorcycle, as they're getting a little bit older and closer to the big GNCC classes, is our 85 and also our 105. And anybody from 7 years old through 15 years old are racing these motorcycles or riding them, having a good time. And this is our product line for all of the youth, these 3 models here. Whether you're ready to go GNCC racing with your youth or just ride around your backyard, go down to your KTM dealer and see the full line of KTM mini cycles. And come and see us here at the GNCC.
And that's your KTM product spotlight.
Back out on the race trail here near the 5-mile marker on lap number 2. U-Haul Salmon still out front. Chucky Woodford holding on to the number 2 spot aboard the number 11 machine. Back in third, the rookie himself, number 15, Charlie Mullins. Back in fourth place, 114, Glenn Kearney on the FMF Suzuki, as he is taking alternate lines there, trying to, well, find maybe a way around the number 15 of Mullins. That might have actually taken a little bit longer, so he might have lost time there and gave these guys right here a chance to close that gap just a little bit, including the number 10 there of Robbie Jinks, and also just ahead of him, the number 3 of Barry Hawk, who finds himself struggling here on lap number 2. Freddie Andrews, who was up just a little further in the pack, finding some struggles through the Ohio woods now himself, but keeps his composure and stays on the gas. There's the 16 of Nate Canny. Canny coming off of his best ride ever at the Unadilla GNCC. And there's Rodney Smith aboard the number 1 machine, still a part of the top 10. Jai Willis aboard the number 113, our Australian visitor who came to spend some time with his buddy Glenn Kearney, GK, and actually just fresh off the ISDE, the International 6-Day event, held just a few weeks before this Powerline Park GNCC. Heading back out to Gus's mud hole, the Yamaha spectator spot here on lap number 2. Will these riders try any different lines, as it looks like that far right side appears to be the way that U-Haul Salmon elects to go. So does Chucky Woodford, the number 11, as he is following nearly every line except for that one, and she almost went down in that little mud hole. And U-Haul Salmon went way to the outside of it, as Mullins is staying up on the pegs and keeping an eye out on the situation from third place. Looks like still the 114 of Kearney in fourth, but here comes a hard-charging fifth-place position holder. Is this the number 20 of Lafferty or the number 10 of Robbie Jinks as he makes his way through this water section, Gus's mud hole, which should be Gus's water hole? I believe that was the number 10 of Robbie Jinks now in the fifth-place position. As still more company back there. There is the number 3 of Barry Hawk. He grabs his roll-offs there, pulls them a couple of times, as I'm sure he's been getting a face full of mud. He's dropped back a couple of spots, too, as Freddie Andrews is right on his rear wheel now. And there is the number 124, Shane Watts, who is on for the 2006 season. Though he may not be making a lot of noise right now, watch out for him. In the 06 Suzuki GNCC Series, we might see the Shane of old from back in 2000. He might be able to pull something out there and actually maybe challenge U-Haul Salmon for the championship in the 06 season. Gus's mud hole, though, not taking a lot of victims here in our pro ranks, and it looks like any victims that it may have had before the pros made it here have made their way out and are now just ahead of our pro riders. But don't be fooled. There are plenty of riders stalling it out in this deep water out here as Rodney Smith makes his way through, and as the 113 of Jai Willis makes his way through now here at Gus's mud hole here in our Yamaha spectator section. Wonder what going through Jai's mind right now. I could be home basking in the sun down under, but no, I'm up over here in the great U.S. Racing GNCC. Still U-Haul and Chucky out front at the 8-mile marker. And still back in third, the number 15 of Charlie Mullins, as we have not seen much change up there through our top 3. The podium looks like it's going to possibly remain the same, but Chucky Woodford is still keeping U-Haul honest. And I got to say, Chucky is riding closer to U-Haul than anyone has been able to ride all season long, including Barry Hawk. Barry Hawk has been there several times, but has not been able to keep the pace because Barry either tries something a little different than what U-Haul does to try to get around, or make some sort of mistake that takes him out of the race and makes him fade back just a little bit. But Chucky's not doing anything of the sorts here today. Chucky has got to be proud the way that he's riding on his birthday and in front of his hometown crowd after securing the National Hare Scrambles title. A big, big weekend here in St. Clairsville, Ohio, for the Woodchuck, Chucky Woodford, the number 11 machine, again in second place as we continue to watch riders make their way through. There goes Nate Canny, the number 16. Wrapping up lap number 2 now. See the big finish flag? The Flying Finn is what it says. U-Haul Salmon, as the Flying Finn has the number 1 spot secure after 2 laps complete with Chuck Woodford right on his rear wheel. Back in third, it's our rookie Charlie Mullins on the Ampro Yamaha, bike number 15. 114 Glenn Kearney right behind him in the 4th place position. And it looks like our riders are beginning to secure themselves through the top 4 and maybe even into the top 5 as Robbie Jinks, Barry Hawk, and looks like Fred Andrews all visiting the finish line region. And as we take a look at our leaderboard, we'll find out exactly how it all breaks down. Thanks to our friends at Suzuki. It's Salmon, Woodford, Mullins, Kearney, and Barry Hawk gets credit for the 5th place position at the end of lap number 2 of 6 here at the Powerline Park GNCC. Picking the action back up on lap number 3 now. We're out near the 1 mile marker, and Juha Salminen still out front. Chucky Woodford still on his rear wheel. And this is about as big a separation as we've seen between those two riders since basically they started walking away with this race. Meanwhile, back in third, still Mullins there on the Ampro Yamaha, looking for 4th place. There's some company actually getting in between these guys. Some lapped riders going to now be between the 3rd and 4th place riders, which is a big cushion for Charlie Mullins, as that will definitely aid him in his efforts throughout the rest of this 3rd lap, or maybe even more, especially if he can get more lapped riders between himself and that 4th place ride, the 114 of Glenn Kearney. More pro riders. I believe that was the number 10 of Robbie Jinks, as he still holds on to a top 10 position. Has dropped up a couple of spots there, but still holding on to a top 10 position about midway through the race now. As Rodney Smith also trying to hold on to a top 10 position aboard the number 1 FMF Suzuki. And right behind him, the 113 of Jai Willis out of Australia, our friend visiting from down under here at the Powerline Park GNCC. There goes, looks like a 200B rider making his way by now. 711 of Josh McLeavy has not made a lot of noise here at the Powerline Park GNCC, but we finally see him making his way by here at the 1 mile marker on lap number 3 as we are near the completion of the halfway point. Actually just beginning the 3rd lap, so we're about a third of the way through, as this is a 6-lap race. And you can see the roots beginning to become exposed there on the side of that hill, as these riders are going to be faced with not only the wet conditions out there in some of those areas and rutted up conditions, but also they've got those slimy roots that they're going to have to contend with as things progress here. Looks like we got a pit stop for Juha Salminen. Salminen really not knowing for sure if he was going to elect to take a pit stop. He's in. We got the clocks on. Woodford's also in for a pit stop here on lap number 3. And we're going to see who's got the quicker of the two. Chuck Woodford actually getting out a lot quicker, a 7.6 versus Salminen's 12.0, and he actually waved Juha Salminen by right there. He let him go by. He said, go on, lead. He had the lead. He wanted him to stay out front. Maybe Chuck Woodford feels more secure back there in the number 2 spot. In case something would happen, he might be able to make the pass and walk away with the situation. At least he's not going to be forced into a mistake by somebody breathing down his neck, that's for sure. There's a 114 still of Glenn Kearney as he holds on to a top 5 spot, and it looks like Barry Hawk in for a pit stop. Let's see how long it takes Barry, if he's able to gain any time here. Barry actually getting off and zipping up his pants, rebuckling his pants. Looks like he may have been having some problems there. Mike Garrett coming over to double check the situation, make sure everything's all right. Barry's got new goggles. He's got a full tank of gas. It looks like he's wanting new gloves, but doesn't appear that time is going to allot that. 21.3 seconds. Let's check in with Jason Wygant.
Well, here in St. Clairsville, Juha Salminen is facing yet another challenger, and it's St. Clairsville's fastest off-roader, Chuck Woodford. So confident is Woodford today that he can take down Juha Salminen that he waved him by the last time they stopped for gas in the pits. He had a shot at the lead. He said, I don't need it. I'll get you in the end. St. Clairsville's fine. It's got a lot of people cheering for him in the woods, too. So Chuck Woodford might just be the man atop Juha today.
Well, we got 3 laps to figure that all out, and as we're out near the 3 mile marker here on lap number 3, let's check in with Woodford's mechanic, Doug Duchette.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure what to put it to. I don't know how to attribute that lead there, other than Juha is just really strong, and he might have been playing a pit strategy too. You know, I mean, Juha, you can't take anything away from him. He is just a flat-out phenomenal rider, and even though Chuck's really comfortable and everything else, I don't know, you know, from in the pits here, Juha could have been playing his own strategy and going along with Chucky's game too, but we'll see in a lap and a half from now. But right now I'm really stoked to still have Chucky up there in the gap that we do have right now between 3rd and then 4th and so on. So, you know, let the best man win, but I'm really happy for Chucky.
And a lot of folks are, considering this is his hometown. The crowd has got to really be behind the number 11 of Chuck Woodford on that team green Kawasaki as we're out near the 5-mile marker now. Still the number 15 of Charlie Mullins in the third place position as he is trying to reel those guys in, but just can't seem to get it done here in the slick Ohio terrain that he should actually be used to. Still the 114 of Kearney in fourth, and Barry Hawk has moved up into the number 5 spot. Speaking of Barry Hawk, we had a chance to talk with his mechanic, Doug Whitmer.
No, yeah, I guess you could say that. He needed new goggles, so we figured we'd gas him at the same time, and his pants came undone. His pants were falling down, so he had to get off and pull his pants back up, but we're okay.
Now that Barry secured his pants, maybe he can secure a top 5 or maybe even a podium finish before this race day is all said and done. We're only on lap number 3 of 6 at the 5.5-mile marker, so he's got plenty of time to get her done in. There went Charlie Mullins aboard the number 15. Here comes the number 114. That's Glenn Kearney still holding steadily back there in the number 4 spot, and he is trying to, well, get around some lap traffic right now. A lot of that out on the trail as Barry Hawk is working his way back up into a number 5 position. He's got lap traffic between himself and the 4th place ride of Glenn Kearney and also the 3rd place ride of Charlie Mullins. But nonetheless, you know that Barry Hawk has got to be a lot more satisfied with having those pants back buckled the way that they should be, and he's got to be feeling a little bit of pressure right now, but Barry always rises to the occasion here late in the race. There's the number 16 of Nate Canny still holding on to a top 10 spot as we head down near the 7-mile marker. Gus's mud hole once more. There goes Kearney. There goes number 11 of Chuck Woodford still in the hunt. Chucky is having a remarkable race here today at the Powerline Park GNCC. There's the 15 of Charlie Mullins still back just a little bit in the number 3 spot. Glenn Kearney still in 4th. Looks like he's whoa! Glenn Kearney nearly goes down there, gets a little bit out of shape, but the speed and momentum keeps him going forward, and that's what keeps him from going down. He gets slowed down just in time to get through that mud hole. Nearly goes down there in Gus's mud hole, though, but it keeps it up on 2 wheels, and that is the important thing. 2 little mistakes nearly costing the number 114 a lot of position and a lot of time out there. There you can see one of our lap riders has gotten into the deep water out there and has drowned his machine out, and that's the trouble that you're faced with. If you suck too much water up in that machine, you're going to be sitting there kicking and kicking and kicking, and there's nothing that the mud fleas can do to help you but sit and encourage you and cheer you on. There's Josh McLeavy once more, having some tough times here at the Powerline Park GNCC, but at the end of lap number 3, Juha Salminen still in control, but look there, right behind him, the number 11 of Chucky Woodford. Happy birthday, Chuck. Congratulations on the National Hare Scrambles Championship, and good job here in front of the hometown crowd as we check in with the finish line. That looks like Freddie Andrews. He's working his way up through the pack, looking like he's probably going to have the best race of his 2005 season. The 124 of Shane Watts also doing quite well as he is working his way toward the top 5. There's the number 10 of Robbie Jinks. Looks like Jinks has dropped off the pace a little bit and has the 114 of Glenn Kearney as he's dropped all the way back to what looks like a 7th place position. Let's take a look at our Suzuki leaderboard as Barry Hawk gets his pants rebuckled there as we see in the background. Juha Salminen out front, Woodford in 2nd, Mullins in 3rd, Andrews up to 4th place, and Shane Watts rounds out your top 5. Both those guys having a remarkable run here today in Ohio. Lap number 4, the 1.5-mile marker, and still no change up front. It's wheel-to-wheel battling between Salminen and Woodford. Still in 3rd is the number 15 of Charlie Mullins, who is definitely making a name for himself here in this 2005 season, from the 250A class, top amateur, to the rookie of the year, it looks like, here in GNCC racing. Fast Fred Andrews holding on to the number 4 spot is having his best race of the 2005 season, and that's good news for Fast Freddy. He usually comes on in the late part of the year, and unfortunately for him, his championship hopes are out the window, and that's what we talk about in this week's Suzuki Pro Tip of the Week.
I'm here with Fred Andrews in our Suzuki Pro Rider Tip of the Week. And Fred, you know, we've covered a lot of bases throughout the course of this year in our Pro Tip section, but one thing we haven't talked about is getting yourself motivated for a race. How do you go about that?
Well, motivation's got to really come from within, I think. It's the difference between being a champion and just being an average top 10 guy out there. You know, when you come in conditions like today where it's muddy and you just know it's not going to be a whole lot of fun, you just got to get down in your heart, you know, and dig deep and just give it your all. And that's the difference between being a champion and just, you know, being a top 10 guy, I think.
And that's your Suzuki Pro Rider Tip of the Week.
Back out on lap number 4 early on in pit row. Who's going to stop for a pit stop this time around? Doesn't look like U-Haul will. Doesn't look like Chucky will either, as he gets the pit board there from his girlfriend. Back in third place, number 15 of Charlie Mullins on the Ampro Yamaha. Is he going to stop for a pit stop? Looks like he's putting on the brakes, and he's going to stop for some gas, it looks like, as we put the clock on to see how Mullins does in the Ampro pits. Look at this. They're also cleaning mud off the front fender there, trying to release any weight that they can. Meanwhile, Mullins says, get the gas in, get me out of here. They do it in 9.3 seconds. Also, Andrews will stop in for a pit stop himself. He'll get some gas, fresh pair of goggles, it looks like, and maybe even a fresh pair of gloves, as he is set and ready to roll in 10.3 seconds. There goes Freddie aboard the number 7 Suzuki. And you know, our lead riders have always got to have some sort of a game plan as far as the pit stops are concerned. And of course, you know, a lot of times that's where the race is won and lost. Getting in and out quick, and not only getting in and out quick, but also knowing when to pit. Both Watts and Jinx are in the pits now. Who's going to get in and out quicker there? Watts stops up just a little ahead of the number 10 of Robbie Jinx. Robbie Jinx, though, is out, and looks like Watts is still in, and 13.8 on his pit stop. More KTM pilots in for a pit stop. Lafferty, the number 20 National Enduro champion, 7.8, just a little filler on the top just to ensure that he can make these final couple laps of racing before the checker flag flies and this race comes to a close. Kearney in the pits. He's in 17.9 seconds out aboard that number 114 machine. He has lost from a top 3 position all the way back into a 7th place position. He appears to be struggling once again in the mud, as he did early on in this 2005 Suzuki GNCC Series. Look at this, though. Woodford is keeping right on the rear wheel of Juha Salminen, the strongest ride that he's had not only this year, but probably for the last couple of years as far as GNCC is concerned. Mullins still back in the number 3 spot, and looks like as we head out near the 5-mile marker, still no change with our front 2, our front 3. They continue to stay the same. Still about the same amount of gap between 2nd and 3rd, and still Chucky Woodford right on the rear wheel of Juha Salminen for that number 1 spot. Can Woodford pull out another win out of his hat here in front of the hometown crowd? He's done it before. He's gone nearly, well, under the radar all season long before, as he has here in this 2005 season, and was able to pull out a win here at St. Clairsville, and he might be able to do it again as we check in with Gus's Mudhole, our Yamaha spectator section. A little different angle this time. We know we see the deep water that these riders have got to ride through right here, but that's just the beginning of it. There's a bunch of little water holes that they've also got to go through after that. So Gus's main mud hole, the big mud hole, is not the only obstacle these riders have got to get through. They still face the possibility of maybe sucking up some water through some of these shallower mud holes that you see up through this long roadway. And if they do that, that can take them out of the race. But our pro riders have been down this road before. They know that they have got to ride a nice, consistent speed and keep that water out of the air breather. If you notice there, going by just a moment ago, the number 10 of Robbie Jinx, we noticed at the end of that last lap of racing that Jinx had actually ripped that left side number plate off his machine. So that explains why he goes from a solid top 5 and fades back through the top 10 just a little bit. And he's done it without the side number plate on the left side there. So obviously he's either gone down or banged up against a tree, which has totally ripped that thing off there. End of lap number 4 now, and it is still Juha Salminen. Where is Chucky Woodford now, the number 11 machine? Is Woodford still back there in the hunt? It looks like the gap is beginning to open up just a little bit, and it is still Woodford in that number 2 spot here at the end of lap number 4. And it looks like maybe Juha is turning it on just a little bit now, as Woodford is 2nd, Mullins is 3rd, and our Suzuki leaderboard reflects the same. Andrew's still in 4th, and Michael Lafferty is back up into the 5th place position for that number 20 KTM. Picking the action back up here on lap number 5, the 1.5 mile marker, and there goes Juha with 2 laps to go now, and he is again stretching things out over Chucky. Chucky had done such a great job of keeping on his rear wheel, but it looks like that maybe Woodford has made a little bit of a mistake. Meanwhile, the number 15 of Mullins is beginning to close that gap just a little bit from that 3rd place position. Freddie back in the 4th place position, holding steady there aboard the number 7 Suzuki. Again, the best race that the number 7 Suzuki has seen this entire 2005 Suzuki GNCC Series. As we check back on pit row, at about the 2.5 mile marker. Salmon in for one last pit stop. He does not want to take any chances of running out of gas as he did a couple of races ago, actually at the Wisp GNCC and then again at the Yadkin Valley Stomp, which those races he actually lost both, and he does not want to suffer that consequence anymore. So they have got a totally different pitting strategy now for Juha Salminen. Woodford stops in for a pit stop, 7.6 seconds there for the number 11. Still in that number 2 position. Mullins still back in third. And again, it is still the number 7 of Freddie Andrews in that 4th place position. What's up for grabs right now, I believe, is that 5th place position is Mike Lafferty trying to hold on to it. Let's see if he can do it as number 3 of Barry Hawk is closing the gap and is wanting to make his way into at least a top 5 position before this race day is all said and done. 5 mile mark now, still Juha Salminen up front, and he has got some cushion there as some lap traffic between himself now and Woodford. It looks like Woodford may be beginning to slow down just a little bit as we may be seeing some, well, he's been riding at a pretty strong pace for the last couple of hours. This last hour of racing is where it gets really, really tough on these riders. And these last 2 laps, this is where all the training that these riders do in between each and every race begins to pay off. It shows who's been doing their homework in between races each and every time, because you got to keep that endurance up throughout the entire season. You got to train all season long to make sure that you can go the full 3 hours. 2 hours, a lot of riders can do that, but it's the 3rd hour that usually comes to bite these riders in the butt. But right now, it looks like Woodford is still holding on to a solid 2nd place position, as the number 15 of Mall is still a solid 3rd place position. We have not seen a change in our front 3 riders, I don't think, since lap number 2. They have held steady 1, 2, and 3. And also over the last couple of laps, the number 7 of Fred Andrews has held steady in that number 4 position. And he is having, again, the best race of his 2005 season on board that Suzuki. There goes Woodford through, is still in 2nd place, past Gus's mud hole now at the 7 mile marker. The Yamaha spectator section, still no change. Back in 3rd as it's the number 15 of Mullins. And again, it's still the number 7 of Freddie Andrews easing his way through the mud holes out there in that number 4 position. Big question again is going to be who can secure the number 5 spot. Can National Enduro champion Mike Lafferty hold on to it, as we see right here aboard that number 20 machine, where some rider, like that rider right behind him, that looks like maybe the number 10 of Robbie Jinks it is knocking on the door now from a 6th place position to break back into the top 5 after dropping off several positions and working his way back up through. Robbie has rode his tail off here today in Ohio. And that's evident by looking at his number plate that got ripped off. He rode his number plates off here at the Powerline Park GNCC as we pick the action back up near the 8 mile marker now here on this 5th lap of racing. Still no change. Juha out front, still no change. It is Chucky still in 2nd aboard the number 11, and in 3rd, the number 15 of Charlie Mullins. Again in 4th place, still the number 7 of Freddie Andrews. But watch out, looks like Barry Hawk may be knocking on the door for that 5th place position away from the number 20 of Michael Lafferty. Can Lafferty hold on to it? We are getting reports that Hawk is beginning to close that gap. White flag is out as Juha Salminen makes his way past the finish line for another time. Lap number 5's in, heading into lap number 6. And look here, it looks like Charlie Mullins has taken over 2nd place and Woodford back to 3rd. Let's take a look at our Suzuki leaderboard. It is Salminen, Mullins, Woodford, Andrews still in 4th, and Michael Lafferty still rounds out your top 5. Picking the action back up on lap number 6, our final lap of the race at the 1 mile marker. And it's still Juha Salminen out front securing that number 1 spot that much more. Here comes Mullins in the number 2 spot. And here's your 4th place ride. That's the number 7 of Freddie Andrews. As we missed Chuck Woodford going by there aboard that number 11 machine. There's 5th place ride, number 20. Michael Lafferty, as we're a mile into this 6th and final lap. Barry Hawk back in the number 6 spot. Looks like he is beginning to close the gap on the number 20 of Mike Lafferty for that 5th place position as we head down pit row one last time here on lap number 6. Anthony Calton giving his rider words of encouragement instead of fuel this last lap around. And here comes the number 15 of Charlie Mullins. And Charlie Mullins in second as Chuck Woodford still in the number 3 spot aboard the number 11 machine. And he looks over to his pits and gets some words of encouragement from the Ampro Yamaha pits. Charles Mullins, Charlie's dad, actually clapping and cheering him on as he did Juha Salminen as he made his way by a few moments ago. Both of those guys Class A acts, no doubt about that. Hawk in on this last lap for a last lap pit stop. Probably not the best pitting strategy, but Barry obviously feeling he needed to do it or he wouldn't have done it. 7.2 seconds he wastes there in this final lap of racing. He was closing the gap on the number 20. Let's see if he can continue to do that as there goes Salminen, there goes Mullins, and still in third, the number 11 of Chuck Woodford. Let's check in with Jason Wygant.
Last lap of a muddy day here in Ohio, and the battle for the lead has changed. Instead of Chuck Woodford being the Ohio rider chasing Juha, now it's Charlie Mullins. So the attention is right behind Juha again. Can Charlie Mullins, the 19-year-old, close the gap on the last lap? Only a few minutes left, and we're going to find out.
Thanks a lot, Jason, as we check back in with our leaders out here at the 5-mile mark, about the halfway point of this final lap of racing. And again, Juha out front. Charlie Mullins trying to pick his way through some of that lap trap, as you can see, can be kind of detrimental to you. A lap rider could come out of nowhere and actually take you out of the race. Right now, Woodford still holding on to a solid third-place ride. And our hats off to him, and again, wishing him a happy birthday as he celebrates his birthday this weekend. There goes Salminen past the 5.5. Charlie Mullins still holding on to the second-place position as he is laying chase to the number 111 of Juha Salminen. Also back in that number 3 spot, there's the number 11 still of Chuck Woodford on the Team Green Kawasaki as he is on the gas and in the hunt still for a podium. And if things go his way, who knows, he could even win this one. The way things have gone here today, it is not out of the realm of possibility. There's the number 7 of Fast Freddie Andrews in the number 4 spot. Mike Lafferty still holds on to 5th place aboard that number 20 KTM. But here comes the number 3 of Barry Hawk. Actually, there's the 114 of Glenn Kearney. Looks like Kearney might have gotten around Hawk, so Hawk might have dropped off to 7th place here midway through lap number 6. We're out near the 7-mile marker now. Gus's mud hole. Look at all the water splashed up on the trees and the brush on this section of the race course. Here at the 7-mile marker, Gus's mud hole, the Yamaha spectator section. And speaking of Yamahas, here comes Charlie Mullins, who had been running in 3rd place all day long. Finally gets the big break and moves into the number 2 spot. And, of course, I think that was because Chucky Woodford might have made a mistake after being a little bit fatigued late in the race. We'll find out, though, if that is the case or not whenever we talk to Chucky here on the podium in just a few minutes, if he can hold on to it the rest of this final lap of racing in that number 3 position. Though I know that Freddie Andrews back in the 4th place position aboard the number 7 would definitely like to see another mistake like that be made, because he would like to be up on the podium for the first time here in 2005. And speaking of Freddie, here he comes down through Gus's mud hole right now, and Freddie not taking any chances on this last lap. He knows this has been the best solid ride that he's had here in 2005, and he does not want to throw it away. Still holding on to 5th place, the number 20 of Mike Lafferty as he goes deep in the Gus's mud hole and right back out of it now as he is on the gas here on the Yamaha spectator section. Out near the 8-mile marker now, and here's our leader, Juha Salminen, on his way home to the checkers. Just a couple of miles away before we'll see those unfurl and Juha take yet another win and clinch the championship in this 2005 Suzuki GNCC Series here with only 1 round of racing left to go. It is still no change through our top 3 and no change through our top 4, and it looks like still maybe that Lafferty is holding on to that 5th place position. As the white flag is out, it goes to the checkers, and check it out, Juha has already cleared off his number plate to make room for the number 1. Not only winning the Powerline Park GNCC, but securing the 2005 Suzuki GNCC title. Let's head down and talk with our champion, Juha Salminen.
Yeah, it's something new, you know. It's like, you know, the first world title was great, and after you can start used to those, and now first in here in the US, so I'm really happy it's done. Yeah, it was, you know, that it's coming so slippery, that mud, when it's coming shiny, it was so slippery. I fall down a couple times in the last 2 laps, so it was really difficult.
The first lap, it was really slick, then it started getting good, then I went down. I was leading the first lap, and I went down, and they got away from me, and I just worked my way up. and I just got plugging away. Then I caught Chucky last lap, and they told me U-Haul was right there, and I just tried and charged as hard as I could. I was trying to. It was fun, technical track.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I haven't had a strong ride in the GNCC since before I got hurt at Loretta Lynn's on the first lap, and I hadn't had a strong ride to the GNCC since then, just because of other priorities. You know, I was wounded and tried to ride a couple of races before the break, and just kind of prepare myself for the National Hare Scrambles, and you know, it wasn't very good for me. I was hurt and I wasn't riding really, and I just tried to ride anyway, and I didn't do very good. And nobody expected me to. And then after the break, you know, I had a National Hare Scrambles Championship on the line, and I went to the race in North Carolina, and just and the directions were don't do anything stupid, and don't get yourself hurt. So I went out and just kind of rode around and had a day of trail riding, and then I didn't go to Unadilla just to keep myself healthy, and then I wrapped up the National Hare Scrambles Championship last week. So, you know, today I was back to full on, you know, as good as I could do. You know, I wanted to win a GNCC here. I wanted to get up there and ride with U-Haul a little bit. You know, he's a great guy and rides really good, and it's really fun to ride with him. So, it was good.
U-Haul Salmon, the man of the hour, getting that #1 plate. He drops 2 of those ones in the 111 and gets the #1 plate from Rodney Smith. You see him congratulating him there as we take a look at our Suzuki overall results. Salmon and Mullins, Woodford, Andrews, and Hawk rounds out the top 5. Kearney, Jinks, Smith, Lafferty, and Watts through the top 10. U-Haul Salmon proudly displaying 3 #1 plates. It's 111, but they're all individuals now, as he is our Suzuki GNCC champion here in 2005. Could not be happier, I'm sure, to pop the top on that bottle of champagne. Well, that'll do it for the Powerline Park GNCC. For Jason Wygand, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody. The Grand National Cross Country Championship is sanctioned by the American Motorcyclist Association. Rights, Riding, Racing. AMA. Join now. Call 1-800-